Hello everyone, this is FIDE Master Viktor Neustroev, and today I am going to illustrate how to play Kan Sicilian against Ukrainian Variation. Well, you don't understand which position I'm talking about? Let me explain. E4, C5, knight C3, E6, we stick to Kan Sicilian principle, and then white plays D4, and after C takes D4 they capture with the queen, which of course is not so logical, because the queen falls under an attack of the knight with knight C6, and they have to spend a few tempi with the queen. So this is called Ukrainian variation. Why? Well, because of several grandmasters starting from 2021 started playing these lines, mainly when they played Blitz. So who were among them? Martin Kravtsev, Vitaly Bernatsky, Ilya Nizhnik, and Kirill Shevchenko. So, well, not only Ukrainians started playing this line, but other chess players from other countries too. For example, Aryan Tari from Norway. Why? I'm sure that it's because they realized that they can hardly get any advantage against Kan Sicilian in the main lines. So Kan Sicilian is a really solid and sharp opening, so you can learn it and implement in your games. Fine. So how to defeat white, or at least how to equalize the position for black without any issues and with some prospects. Also, you should learn that this position may appear with knight f3 move first, which is a more logical move, because the idea of knight f3 is to capture on d4 with a knight, but they may not capture with a knight, but still capture with the queen, still knight c6, and this is the line that we are going to talk to. So let me explain. So of course the queen has several retreats. The queen can retreat to d1, to d3, to e3, and to a4. Should we start with this? Let's start with this. So a4 is quite common in club players game, but is a significant mistake. Why? Because the queen there becomes the object of the attack. For example, you can continue with a6. They, let's say, develop their pieces with knight c3, and you're about to play b5, but you cannot play this move right away because they can capture either with a knight or with their bishop, and mainly because there is a pin on the a file. That's why here, before playing b5, you should prepare it. Rook b8. And if they play bishop f4, just b5, the queen has to move. This time there is no sacrifice. Queen moves, and with knight a5 you trap the queen, the game is over. Okay, you may say, okay, maybe they first start with this move. What do you think, Victor? And here I answer, still b5 makes your position quite favorable, but before doing this, save your rook, rook a7, and then after knight c3 you can still play b5, your rook is protected, b5 is not hanging, and the queen again is trapped. Well, yes, they can save their queen. They are not forced to play knight c3 or so on, or maybe they will play knight c3, but after b8 they decide to save the queen. But look at this queen. How many tempi did this queen take? And what did white achieve? Almost nothing. They still have to find a good square for the queen. So queen a4 doesn't look like a good option. Queen d1, well, quite a passive move. Well, just 2 tempi for nothing. Well, you can play a6 and stick to Kan Sicilian principle. That's fine, but the best continuation is just to open the position with d5 and activate your pieces. Yes, you are likely to play with an isolated pawn, but this time it's not a big issue. For example, bishop d3, knight f6, castle, bishop c5, your piece's activity fully compensates having an isolated pawn on d5. If you think you can get into trouble, for example, after this check, don't worry. If they add pressure with knight g5, they will later regret about it. Castle, knight e6, f takes e6, and you have a pawn center. Is this pawn hanging? No, it's not poisoned, and this is the second chance for you to trap your opponent. For example, if rook takes e6, you have a very nice tactical strike, bishop f2, winning the pawn back and exposing the enemy king's position. If they decide to take, just knight e4. How does it work? Well, you win the game. If king e2, it's knight d4, you win the rook. If king e1, which I think is the best move, it's queen h4, threatening with queen f2. g3, queen h2, you're still threatening the mate. Well, maybe they can retreat to g1? No, they cannot. If this happens, you can play queen to b6. And after queen b6, the king has to move, and you win because of this fork. So it's a completely losing position if they accept this sacrifice on f2. If not, you gain the pawn, your position is great, the enemy king is exposed. So it's still fine. That's why queen d1 doesn't really deserve our attention. We should better focus on such moves like queen d3 or queen a3. Let's talk about queen d3. Well, it's rare, but still playable. How you should play then? Well, knight f6. Because e5, in Kan Sicilian, we are usually afraid of e5 when we play knight f6. e5 this time completely fails. If he plays so, trade and win a knight back. So you are up a pawn. Well, if they decide to save the game, to save the knight, they can even lose the game after bishop b4. So fine. e5 is not playable. They probably have to continue with bishop f4 and e5 later. Fine. a6. Knight c3. b5. And if they play e5 in this position, which I think the vast majority of chess players would play, pin the pawn. If they take, they lose a very important bishop for this position. If they, let's say, decide to develop their pieces or play any logical move like that, then you should make a knight move to d5. But how is it possible if there is a knight here and queen here? First, you attack the queen, chase the queen away, and then play this move. And then black is completely fine. They can successfully finish their development, like the bishop on b7, this one on e7, or maybe on b4. And having the pawn on a5 is already a disadvantage for black. So here, black is completely fine. According to the engine, maybe even a little better. So queen d3 doesn't look so well. Queen e3 in this position, well, still not fine, but this time they can threaten with e5 once you play knight f6, so be very accurate with it. Still knight f6 is possible, but if you are a Kan Sicilian player, for example, like I am, then continue with a6. a6, knight c3, b5. Well, usually I suggest to play queen c7 in the main line of Kan Sicilian. It's a more solid move. b5 is a possible option too, but it's much sharper. However, in this position, when you see that your opponent spent 2 tempi on doing nothing but moving his queen, you can allow yourself to play b5. That's okay. So, and then you develop your pieces like you usually do, like queen c7, bishop b7, and so on. This is what we are going to talk about in a different scenario when the move order is knight c3 first and knight f3 later. I'm going to show you it with a different move order. So let's say they play this, knight c3, it's more common and it's definitely more logical. Why it's more logical? Because the queen from d4 may move to e3 and maybe to the king side to add some pressure on g7, because in Kan Sicilian the queen is well placed on g3. It almost never gets there, but if white manages to bring the queen there, they are fine. So queen d4, knight c6, definitely yes, and let's choose queen e3 move. Queen e3. So this time we continue with a6. Well, you can play knight f6, you can play bishop a7, but again, if you're a Kan Sicilian player, play this. So, and if they continue with knight f3, this is the position we just discussed. b5 again. So bishop d3, let's say, fine. Bishop b7, castle, queen c7, rook e1, and this is how white wants to get the control over the e5 square. So according to my analysis, this is what you need to remember. You'd better play this move. How does it work? You then play bishop d6, knight e7, and your pieces are flexible, and both your bishops are really good. And you eliminate any danger with e5 or knight d5. Well, if they want to play knight d5, they can choose a better move order. For example, instead of bishop d3, they can continue with this move, queen c7 anyway, castle, knight f6. Well, again, so e5 is a blunder. It's a double attack, and you win a pawn. That's why rook d1, you play bishop e7, and they can try knight d5 in this position. Well, it doesn't work, but many of your opponents may play such a move, because this is what actually this one of the reasons why this setup was prepared for. E takes d5. This how to save your pieces. So if you move the knight, they push d6 and win a bishop, but you have a counterattack with knight g4. If, let's say, the queen goes to e4, attacking this knight, f5, sacrificing a pawn, but this allows us to play d6, attack the queen and defend our knight, as well as stop the enemy pawn. Now, once the queen moves, you can successfully play knight a5 and save all of your pieces. So you have a knight for 2 pawns. It's winning. If they decide to play queen c3, which does make sense because the knight is pinned, it's still a problem. Why? Bishop f6, queen goes to c5 to maintain a pin, but queen a7, a very nice move to get rid of a pin. If they take, you take with your knight and avoid a knight loss. If not, then you threaten f2 also, as well as the queen, of course. So that's why probably the queen goes to e1, after which, look at this idea. You're threatening checkmate if only you get rid of the knight. So knight d4. Well, they can try bishop b5 and deliver a check, but who cares? We have a greater threat, and this bishop is still hanging. So we threaten with this, delivering checkmate, we threaten to take the bishop, we even threaten to play rook e8, and then the queen can hardly find a good spot. So black is completely winning here. Knight d5 doesn't work, but you need to remember how to play against it. So that's why queen e3, which seems to be the most logical setup, doesn't work really well. It may work occasionally, especially in a blitz game, and especially if black doesn't remember how to play. And if queen d3, which is also common, knight f6 this time, because e5 is almost never playable. The queen is not supporting it, there is no other pieces supporting it. So let's say bishop f4, for example, a6. Knight f3, b5. e5, this time you play the same strategy, queen c7 pinning, with the idea of doing this move. Also, if they play something else, you may consider doing like that and then capturing. Well, this time when the bishop is attacking h5, you shouldn't play so. This time you choose knight b4, queen moves, and knight f to d5, saving your knight and simplifying the position and continuing developing your pieces. Well, there is a very nice line that may happen in case if here, instead of doing knight f3, they decide to castle, because what they develop the bishop, so most likely they want to castle queenside. Don't worry, you have a strong attack. b5, e5. Well, in this position, I have two suggestions. If you are a tactical player, you'd better choose knight h5. How does it work? So the bishop moves back, otherwise you just take it and win a pawn on e5. And this time the pawn is poisoned because queen e2 does a double attack on two knights. However, if you play bishop b7, then the pawn becomes hanging. But they play queen e2, and g6 seems to be very slow. It's still possible, but slow. They can play g4, for example, sooner or later, not at the moment, of course, because of our super powerful bishop. But here, b4 makes a lot of sense. And if queen h5, queen a5, you threatening this, and that. So if they want to save a knight and play this move, rook c8 and continue your attack. After that, you are threatening with knight a5 and knight b3, so here you definitely have a compensation for the piece sacrificed. You can turn the engine on in this position, and Stockfish, for example, only proves my words. But you may consider it to be too sharp, and if you are not a tactical player and prefer playing more calm positions, I have a solution for you too. You can continue with queen c7. Pinning. So queen f3, defending the bishop, and you cannot take because there is a knight pinned. Then just knight g8. It seems like a mistake to bring the knight back after developing to f6, but before concluding it, can you calculate how many moves did white play with their queen? 1, 2, 3. So that's why we are completely fine moving our knight to f6 and back. This is approximately equal position. Also, you can check it with the engine if you want. You have a queen side attack. They are going to attack on the king side, but because the pawn is already on b5, black seems to be more seems to have more success with this attack. That's it. Well, of course, there are other moves to retreat with the queen a4 and queen d1 still, but follow the same strategy. If queen d1, you can play knight f6 and then d5, having an isolated pawn. If, for example, they play this move, you know what to do. Well, if you want, you can start with knight f6, but I suggest you playing a6, rook b8 and b5, trying to trap the queen. Even if you don't trap the queen, you have a serious advantage forcing the queen to move again. And with b5, you grab space and bother enemy pieces. So this is how you can defeat Ukrainian variation and outplay almost all of your opponents who don't know this theory. Just remember to stick to Kan Sicilian principles. If you want to learn Kan Sicilian and improve your opening repertoire, contact me directly.